All right, AJ Vaden, welcome to the Happy Hustle podcast. I am very excited for this one and so grateful to have you on.
It's my pleasure. I'm so glad this worked out. Schedules are insane. So the fact that we pulled this off is nothing shy of a miracle.
Right? I know you are a busy woman because, not only are you co-founder of Brand Builders Group, you're an international speaker, $1 million consultant, host of the influential personal brand podcast. But besides all that, AJ, what's something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
Yes, I have many hidden secrets, many hidden talents. But I would say this is something that probably people who know me way back when would know, but no one in probably like normal everyday life now. But I was an art major. And way before anything else, I thought I was going to be an artist, a painter. To be exact. And I went to college for that. And then in the last, kind of like the 11th hour, my dad kind of was like, I didn't ever think you were serious about that. Like, that's what you're really going to try to do. So I switched my major to advertising because that's what I had the most credits in. But I would say I for the longest time, had this deep-rooted belief and passion that I was going to be some sort of famous painter.
Hey.
Now all my brushes and paints are used for my toddlers, but
Yeah, that's interesting
not
for
many
sure.
people know that.
That's very cool. I think that probably helped, with business, right? The creativity that you fostered as an artist, right? Would you say?
Yeah, it's interesting because people always assume that, but it was kind of the reverse. I've always been a little bit more logically minded,
Oh,
and my approach to art was probably a little bit more logical and scientific versus what you would imagine most artists are like.
yep.
And I think it's also probably why I would never have been a famous artist because it was
Right.
a little bit more of the practical, logical components of it. But it's so funny. For years, I said that PowerPoint was my new art because that's where I ended up spending so much of my time in the early days was building out graphic PowerPoints.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good form of art to, communicate presentations and ideas through PowerPoint. And speaking of communicating ideas, I want to dive into the personal brand as a whole and that idea of really turning your reputation into revenue. And I know a lot of happy hustlers out there, they're specifically focused on growing their brand, their business, and really creating that life of balance in the process. And I just want to reveal that I, Cary Jack, actually went through Brand Builders Group transformative process of really identifying my uniqueness and how I can exploit it in the service of others. And AJ was pivotal in that whole, like, it was finding your brand DNA that we first met, that initial event, and that, like, that insight, that wisdom that you bestowed upon what changed my whole brand and business. It really did. So I want to dive into that whole concept of personal branding, some of the proprietary framework that BBG teaches, and then how these happy hustlers out there can actually, implement some of these lessons. Let's start with a 30,000 foot view. Give us your definition of a personal brand and why it's important to actually create one.
I love that you asked this because Rory and I, my husband and business partner, we recently kind of sat down and defined for Brand Builders Group, our company, what is a personal brand? Because I think there's a lot of assumptions out there that a personal brand is just an online influencer, which isn't true, right? Not necessarily. That's definitely a part of it, a component of it. But what we say is that a personal brand is the monetization of your reputation, right? We all have a reputation. Some of us create one more proactively with more strategy and thought, with frameworks and a business model tied around it. And others are a little bit more reactive to it. And our approach is, no, let's take a proactive approach to shaping and forming your reputation and creating a business model around it that allows you to create this entire personal brand that you're able to take your reputation, i.e. your credibility, your reach, your results, all of the things that you've done and all the people you've touched, and deliver some sort of product or a service and benefit other people, while also creating a really amazing lifestyle and income for yourself. But by doing it through a message that you feel called to share. And so I just think for all of us, we all have that. We all
Yep.
do that. Some of us just do it a little bit more intentionally with more focus and framework with a business model tied to it. And for us, at Brand Builders Group, that to us is the only difference between a reputation and a personal brand. It's the proactive shaping of how you want people to see you. And it's just putting some intentionality to that.
Yeah, love that. I mean, that is such a great point, because prior to Brand Builders Group, I was just throwing spaghetti on the walls, just hoping something stuck, And then after, I was so clear with my intention. And that's really, what you just said, being deliberate with your message, with your branding, how you're going to serve those you feel called to serve. I mean, it really was transformative, like having that clarity. And I think a lot of people out there are lacking that clarity, and they get caught up in the shiny object syndrome where everyone's a guru. They just want this get rich quick scheme, or, hey, try this and do that. And they lose focus of their clarity. And that's really what BBG helped me with, a ton. And we're going to tease it a little bit here now. We do have a special opportunity for the happy hustlers out there. If you stick around to the end, find out how you can actually learn more about your brand, your clarity, and connect on a free call. It's going to be awesome. We'll talk about that after, but I did want to tease it now because it's juicy and it can really help you get that clarity.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about BBG's process in getting clarity for your brand.
Yeah, and one of the things I would say to everyone who's out there listening is there's a lot of different ways to get clarity, right? And I think that's just one of the things that we talk about. And, our internal tagline of what we always remind ourselves of is our goal is to take someone from idea to 8-figure entrepreneur, if that's where you want to go. And I think that's where we spend so much time is you have to have clarity on what problem do you solve. And then you have to have clarity on what is the unique message that you have for solving that problem. Then you have to have clarity on what audience do I solve that problem for? And then you have to have clarity on, and how do I make money solving that problem? And the challenge that we see from, most everyone, I won't say everyone, but most everyone, is that they think they solve lots of problems. And the truth is maybe you do, but that doesn't mean that you should.
Yeah.
Right? Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should be doing something. And a lot of that is just saying, no, what do I feel called to? What am I best positioned to do? And what does my audience want from me? And I think so often we say, what are my competitors doing? What are other people in the space doing? And we forget to ask the most important question, which is, what do you want to be doing?
Yeah.
And we totally throw it out the window because we say, well, everyone is doing, challenge funnels. That doesn't mean you have to, right?
Yep.
It's everyone's doing this or everyone's doing that. And it's like, so what? Sometimes you just got to put some blinders on and go, no, what do I feel called to do? And what would my audience buy from me? And what kind of business do I want to be in?
Yep.
If webinars and funnels aren't your gig, then probably don't invest a ton of time into that. And I think that's where so many people get so confused, and they're trying to launch a course, write a book, build a keynote, and they're trying to do all this other stuff at the exact same time before they even know who's my audience. What problem do I solve for them? What's the unique message that I have? How do I want to make business in the short term and in the long term? And nobody takes the time to sit down and think about, what's my business strategy for building a personal brand? And I think the biggest mistake that we see across the board is that people don't treat their personal brand like a business, but it is.
Yeah.
So you have to treat it like a business. It's not just about getting followers and likes and engagement. That's a teensy tiny little part of it.
Yeah.
Right? That's on the traffic side, way down the road. And I would just sit back and ask yourself, would you start a business without a plan of how you're going to make money, how you're going to track that money, who you're going to collect money from? It's like, most of you, probably not. You're going to know, I'm going to need a service or a product. I'm going to need to have this, and this. But yet people launch into the personal brand and all they do is start posting content on social media, or they launch a podcast, or they, try to do all these things without any strategy of, what am I actually trying to say? and to whom am I trying to say it for? And
Mm,
so clarity is a really broad term, but we break it down into these very specific categories of, at the very beginning, before you do anything else, you just have to know, what problem do you solve in one
yep.
word? How do you solve that problem, i.e. your message?
Yep.
Who do you solve it for, your audience? And then how do you make money solving that problem, i.e. your business model? And you've got to have clarity in those 4 areas. Then we can talk about all the other things that are probably more surface level exciting, because you can see the things occur and you can see the transactions, you can see the
Yeah.
visual creation, where all these other things are the hard, behind the scenes, no one knows strategy work. But if you have that solid foundation, everything else is more coherent and consistent. And you've got this really nice through line. Whereas
Hmm.
if you don't have it, most people come to us where they're like, I've been throwing spaghetti on a wall for the last
Guilty.
10 years and I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's clarity in a lot of really specific areas.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it. Those 3 questions or 4 questions, you took it a step further with the business model, but really identifying what problem you solve in one word specificity. Like for me, I realized it was imbalance, right?
Mm,
Imbalance because I was out of balance, right? I was hustling, but not happy, working 100+ hour weeks for my tech startup in New York City, got burnout, moved to
yeah.
Bangkok, Thailand, figured out a better way to work and live. You know, that's where the happy hustle was born. I found balance. I've created the 10 alignments and voila, I had my through line, you know, and
Yeah.
I realized I didn't want to solve that problem for just anyone. I want to solve it for those mission driven entrepreneurs, you know, like people
Yeah.
who
Such
are
a big
focused on the
deal.
triple bottom line, you know, people, planet, and the profits. And then when I figured out, okay, what is my uniqueness and how do I exploit it in the service of others, everything clicked. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs, especially doing the right thing at the wrong time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I wrote a book. Well, great. Like I did this because I wrote a book and I basically went to that bestseller launch plan, you know, that BBG offers. Had to rewrite my book because I did the right thing at the wrong time because it didn't make sense with my overall brand DNA. So
Yeah,
if you're
that's
out
so
there,
true.
yeah, well, it is, you know, a lot of people do the right thing at the wrong times. You know, they launch that challenge funnel before they have clarity on what they're going to upsell after the funnel,
Yeah.
you know, after the challenge. So I think breaking it down, going through that first step, deep introspection was such a major draw for me in the entire BBG process. And I really have not, and I say this in all honesty, found another company in the world that has a more comprehensive system that takes your personal brand from 0 to 8 figures, you know, in a systematic approach. And I want to, you know, kind of talk about that system, that framework, just overarching. Give us the curriculum, a part of BBG, and how that works, because I think it's just spectacular.
Yeah, thank you. And I think one of the things that people don't realize about Brand Builders Group is, as much as we're a personal brand strategy firm, we are equally a business strategy firm. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of times the personal branding and the podcasting and books and speaking kind of gets jumbled up. And
Yep.
no, we approach all of this as these are businesses.
Yeah.
And it's probably because we're just really nerdy and probably nerd out more on that stuff than
Yeah.
anything. But we believe that there's a science and a process and a system to everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's our real uniqueness is we have, I would just call it a God-given gift of breaking things down into systems and processes. And we've learned how to do that over the years, more for ourselves than for anyone else. And now it's just articulating that back in a way that we can teach it to other people in a systematic way where you don't have to go through all the pains that we did figuring this
Yep.
out.
Yep.
So we cover really four different spectrums of building your personal brand. And the first phase has 3 curriculums, 3 topics that we cover. And it's what we would say it's the branding components of what you need. This is the foundation, right?
Hmm.
This is the problem you solve, the message, the audience, your monetization model, right? Your business model. This is how are you going to take all of that? What is your content? What do you actually have to say that's unique and original,
Yep.
i.e. your thought leadership? So the
Mm-hmm.
first phase that we take people through is 3 components, and it's all about branding, because we believe that's the foundation that's going to set the path for everything you do moving forward. And to your point, what happens a ton is people get so obsessive about, I have to have a website and I have to have a podcast and I
Yeah.
have to do social media. And then they forget to actually put onto paper, what do you have to say that forwards the message, that's unique and original? What
Yep.
are your stories? What are the points? And then you look back a year from now and you're like, wow, nothing feels consistent or coherent. Nothing really goes together. And it's because, well, it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
One day you're talking about business, the next day you're talking about food recipes. It's like, where's the connection there? And there
Yep.
always is one. You just have to make it.
Yeah.
So that's branding.
Mm-hmm.
And once we kind of set the branding in place, then we say we move on to the marketing phase.
Yep.
Right. And so this is anything from your website and your copy, your funnels, your webinar. This is your CRM, right? This is all your back office automation. What are you going to use for email marketing? Your organic reach, paid reach, borrowed reach. We talk about that a lot.
Yep.
Podcasting, speaking. But these are all things that you do to market yourself as a personal brand. And all of those have a very specific science to do it, with also a purpose, right? With an audience in mind, supporting the problem and the message, hopefully leading to a business model that makes you money. So
Hopefully, right?
We do, hopefully,
Yeah.
if we do it right, that is the plan. But everything kind of runs sequentially in terms of branding first, then marketing, then we take you to the third phase that we cover, which is selling, right? And this is where we really transition. And this is kind of what I think makes us really unique and different in the market, is we talk about online sales and offline sales, because we have a very deep history of both. We've been in door-to-door sales. We've been in telesales, one-on-one group sales, one-to-many, one-to-few, workshop model, live event model. We've been doing it in webinars. I mean, if it can be sold that way, we've done it that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes more successfully than others. But we really talk about the offline sale and the online sale. And I think that's a huge part of what makes us uniquely different, is this is where we transition to scaling a business. So it goes branding, marketing, selling, then scaling. And this is really the entrepreneurship, the business components of your personal brand. It's that shift from personal brand to business. But they're not disconnected. It's just the evolution of how a brand grows. And I think a great example of that would be Dave Ramsey. I think he's one of the prime examples. If not,
friend of your guys's too, right?
Yeah. So Total Money Makeover, Financial Peace University, but went from personal brand to well into the 9-figure business. Yeah. Started as a personal brand, right? And there's tons of examples like that, but that's the prime example of the evolution of how it goes from idea, personal brand, to this 8-figure business, and in his case, a 9-figure business, by following this healthy trajectory of doing the right things, but also doing them at the right time. Yeah.
I mean, that it's so important to do the right things at the right time. And oftentimes I'll see, even, within Happy Hustlers in my mastermind program, or even fellow BBG clients, I'll talk to them and they say, yeah, well, I'm on phase 3, actually, Cary. I got a coaching offer and a website, and I've been running Facebook ads to it for, past 3 months, dropped about 30K in ad spend, but I can't figure out why I'm not converting. I'm like, well, that's because you're not on phase 3. You're actually on phase 1.
That's because you're in the wrong spot.
Yeah, exactly. They're not clear on their brand DNA whatsoever. They don't know the captivating content that's synergistic across all platforms. Like they're just spotting it at LinkedIn and podcast and website, and they'll do a TED talk, but it won't be consistent with their brand or whatnot, and they're not ultimately really sure on who their perfect target avatar is. And that's one thing that I really love about BBG, and the process that I went through in particular, is not only identifying the customer demographics that you want to solve the problem for, but the actual psychographics, right?
Which are way more important.
Oh yeah, so much more important. But a lot of people overlook that. They're like, oh, they're 25, they're a young entrepreneur, they live in a city. Oh, Great, great, super specific, you
Which
know?
is like 25% of the
Yeah,
population on planet
exactly.
Earth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So when you can understand, you know, what's their interests, what's their hobbies, what books are they reading right now, what movies are they watching, what's, you know, their political beliefs, like, you
Yeah.
know, all of these little things, then you can cut through the noise because there's so much noise in the marketplace, right? When you get that clear brand DNA, I find, you know, it's so true. I know Rory talks about the push versus pull when you're just pushing content out at
Hmm.
people and hoping that it lands. Rather, when you get your brand DNA clear, you're actually pulling people in with that
Hmm.
opportunity instead. And it really does work just as simple as that, push versus pull, right?
It really does. And I'm glad that you brought that up because I would even use Brain Builders Group as a really great example of this. And when we launched our business, we did it somewhat quickly. But I tell you what, like we did not even worry about launching a website for the first 6 months we were in business.
Oh,
All
wow.
we had was a simple one-page landing page with 3 or 4 paragraphs of copy, and then a video.
Yeah.
And then that routed people to a video funnel and to request a free call. But because we weren't entirely clear yet on what does our copy need to say and
Hmm.
who are we saying it to, so even after we launched the business, we still were fine-tuning that for the first 6 months to really make sure that we knew who we were going after
Yeah.
and who was naturally being attracted to us. And we say this a lot. We feel like every single person out there has a calling,
Yeah.
right? And some of you haven't discovered it yet, but you have it. Or maybe you just haven't tapped into it, but it's there. But when you really start to tap into your calling, it's like a signal, like a
Mm.
radio frequency. And when you get super clear on it and you really augment the way that you communicate, write, speak, advertise through this message, through this calling, it really does like tune into just the right frequency where somebody else will pick up on it.
Yeah.
But if you're not living in your true uniqueness, you'll never tune into that frequency. There'll
Mm.
always be just a little bit of static around the edges where it just doesn't quite hit that core, which is why those psychographics and the core target audience are so incredibly important to everything that we do. Because when you really dig in and you say, for the person I want to serve, the person I was built to serve,
Hmm.
what are their fears?
Yeah.
What are their questions? What are their dreams? Like what's holding them back? Like what do they love? What fills them up? Like when you really tune into that, that's when you start fine tuning that frequency.
Mm.
And when you start speaking to that person, not people, to that person, it's amazing how other people will go, gosh, I swear it was like this was written to me.
Mm.
Right? I mean, I'm sure it doesn't matter if it's a song or a church sermon or a book even. Sometimes you just read something and you're like,
Yeah.
has someone like been up in my house
Yeah.
reading
Yeah.
my journal?
Big
Because this
brother.
was this was to me, right? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a
Yes.
camera.
Yeah. Is my cell phone on right now? So yeah, they're
Yeah.
like tapped in. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
You want it to be that clear of this is exactly who I'm trying to reach. When that person finds you, then they feel the exact same way.
Hmm.
That is knowing the psychographics of your core target audience so clearly that equally when somebody reads it, they go, yeah, that's not for me.
Yeah.
Like, I want it to be that way. I want someone to come across our website or our podcast and go, yeah, those people are not my people. That's what
Mm.
I want to happen because
Yeah.
now we're doing it right. I don't want to be general. I want to be extremely specific.
Mm. Yeah. So true. I mean, going a mile deep and an inch wide. A lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
as you mentioned previously, you know, hey, I can help everybody. But when you're
Mm-hmm.
everything to everyone, you're nothing to no one. So you have to go a mile deep and then you can expand. And I've struggled with this too, because I've, you know, been dynamic in multiple different industries in
Mm-hmm.
health and performance and self-improvement and business and this and I'm still figuring it out. By no means am I a guru of
We are
any type.
too.
You know, I'm just
We
I'm
are
just a
too.
reporter. I'm like, hey, this worked a little bit. Try this, guys, you know. That's where I come from. However, I do think that specificity, that niche it's in extremely
Mm-hmm.
undervalued. Like people don't value the importance of clarifying that niche. And I think it takes time, so and it will evolve, right? Like you
Yeah,
might
of
start
course.
serving one type of, like with BBG's website. You guys probably started serving some type and then figured out, maybe we want a little bit more of this person, less of that person.
Hmm.
So I think that's, a beautiful realization. AJ, I like to ask all my guests this question. What was your first hustle? What was the first thing you did for money?
That's a great question. Oh, I'll have to take it back. Let me think. Let me think. Oh man, this was probably. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My grandfather started a lumber business in Georgia, Dalton, Georgia, where I'm from.
Nice.
And then my dad bought it from my grandfather, and now my oldest brother is in the process of taking it over. So it's a third generation
Wow.
business. But when I was a little kid, at the lumber company, which is no female presence, maybe one person, maybe sometimes, I don't know. But my dad would always say, well, I'll come, like, this is like back in the day before electronic filing was a thing. And so I would come over and I would say, I'll clean the toilets. I'll do the floors, like I'll do all this. And he paid me some measly, probably like $2 an hour. But I was like, I'll do anything. But I remember hours and hours of filing paper files. And then I'll tell you what they did. They did the month end mailing with all the checks.
Oh,
And that was
okay.
back when that happened. But I would be licking envelopes for hours.
Oh.
And I remember this so specifically. And I was probably 10, 11, 12 doing this. And I remember somebody walked back there the one day and they're like, hey, you know that we have an envelope wetter. And I was like, what is that? And
Oh
I'm
my
sitting here
gosh.
gallons of water
Bleeding
because my
from your
mouth is
mouth.
so dry, tongue cuts. And they bring this little sponge that has water. And I'm like, what?
Mind blown.
Mind blown. But that's probably the first one. I was like literally cleaning toilets, sweeping the warehouse floors, filing papers, and licking envelopes.
Love
That's
it.
what I was doing.
Build character. That's what you were doing. Very cool.
That's awesome.
Well, AJ, I like to ask all my guests basically a multitude of questions in different disciplines. First one I want to talk about is health, because I think health is essential. Health equals wealth, right? If you don't have your health, nothing else really matters. Your personal brand, your business, nothing. So let's talk about health, something that you found success in. I like to call them a happy hustle hack. But can you think of a health happy hustle hack that you could share with the happy hustlers out there?
Yes, two. I have two. And I remember, I don't even remember who told me this, but anyways, I subscribed to it. And people always said, I used to anyways, this is what I used to do. It's like if I had 30 spare minutes, I was trying to do a workout, go on a run, and do whatever. And then one day someone said, I want you to put it in this order in terms of order of priority: sleep, nutrition, fitness. And they were like, if you have the option of sleep versus working out, sleep. And this was probably right around when I had my first child, because I wasn't getting any sleep, right? And just totally sleep deprived. And I just remember her telling me, and I remember it was a female, it does not matter how much you work out. If your body doesn't have rest, you're never going to be at peak performance. And so one of the hacks now is like, if it really comes push to shove, it's going to be a workout or sleep, I sleep.
Yeah.
And everything is better versus when I would work out, I would come home still exhausted, even though maybe I have that endorphin rush for the moment, but just still feeling depleted and never feeling caught up because I was not sleeping, like maybe getting 3 hours, 4 hours a night for months and months and months.
Yep.
And so for now, I'd say sleep. Sleep is my first hack. I sleep. I probably sleep, no joke, 9 hours a night.
Oh.
And I would, if I could, sleep 11.
Yeah, that's why you radiate just that glow.
I mean, like legitimately, I sleep a solid 9 hours. And a lot of that is now, for those of you who have kids, I almost go to bed at the same time as my 3.5-year-old. So I put him down, I leave his room at 7:45, and I'm probably in bed at 8:30.
Oh,
because
wow.
I know I'm getting up when they get up.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
So anyways, just sleep. Sleep is my first hack. That's my first one.
I mean, that's such a good one. And I even want to add a couple points onto it. I mean, when you are going to sleep, I definitely would implement the 3-hour rule. Don't eat 3 hours before, you're about to go to bed. Don't drink 2 hours before you're about to go to bed. And then don't watch any television or be on any tech 1 hour before you're going to bed. So the 3, 2, 1, in addition to the sleep, you can get some blue blockers that will help, filter that toxic blue light. in addition, you could also turn off your Wi-Fi, like unplug it, because the electromagnetic frequencies are something we actually have to talk about. I don't want to be the woo-woo tinfoil hat guy, but they do affect all of us. All right. And so I just want to throw in those caveats to sleep. So great point there. I love that. Sleep, nutrition, fitness. It's a great, I mean, that's a great paradigm shifter, you know, and it really is that important.
Yeah,
Let's
well, it
talk
has
about,
worked for me. So
yeah.
that'd be my first one. And then real quick, the second one, I would say I've been doing this for the longest time, but the very first thing I do when I get out of bed is drink a full 16 ounces of water. It's the very
Yep.
first thing.
Yep.
Before coffee, before food, before anything. Like when my feet hit the floor, I keep this huge like 32-ounce Yeti thing,
Oh,
and I'll
nice.
chug at least half of it as soon as my feet hit the floor. And so
Yep.
before my body's doing anything, it is getting like at least 2 full glasses, 16 ounces of water first thing in the morning.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that we actually get dehydrated when we're sleeping, you know, and we wake up chronically dehydrated. So you have to be, you know, rehydrating yourself. And that's a great like routine, you know, priority is just drink water right when you get up. So, and I take it a step further too with, you know, apple cider vinegar, pink Himalayan salt, a greens powder to help alkalize my body. And then that also helps remineralize and put new electrolytes in your body, you know, because you are being dehydrated from the
And this is
sleep.
why Cary has more abs than I do.
Hey, you know, I don't know if it's water, but they do say abs are made in the kitchen. So, you know, you got to get the water from the kitchen. Let's talk about money, AJ. I know you've made millions. I'm sure you lost a bunch too. I think it's important to talk about money because I see money as a tool. The more I make, the more I can give. And I know you're very philanthropic, and you and, you know, Rory specifically have a huge heart and you give a ton back. Let's talk about a happy hustle hack for money. Maybe something that's helped you save, invest, or spend more wisely, something that you could share with the happy hustlers out there.
Yeah, this is really great. And so we always have subscribed to, since before we got married. So when we got married, we celebrated 10 years this year, or last year.
Woo!
We're
Congrats.
in the new
That's
year. Thank
awesome.
you. But we committed that we were going to enter our marriage debt free. And so we did debt free. And one of the ways that we did that is we set up different accounts. And so if I log into my, you know, bank right now, there's 6 different accounts. Oh. And most of them we're not allowed to touch. So we have automatic amounts that we pre-set up with a bank of every single time that we pay ourselves. This amount of money goes here. And so we have one that's automatically pulling out money for taxes. So I don't have to work about it. So nothing goes to one central account. We just get in our joint checking whatever's left over. And that's our fun money, right? So we have one that goes to savings. Yep. We have one that goes to just taxes. We have one that goes to blessings, which is our charitable fund. So that's for tithing and giving to our causes, whatever we want to use with it. Then Rory has an account that's earmarked just for Rory. I have an account that's earmarked just for me. And then we have our joint, right? So it's like I have my little spending account where I never have to ask my spouse, can I buy this? It's like, if I got the money for it, I'm going to get it. However much money is in there. And that has saved many an argument over the years, I'm sure. And here's one of the things I would say. We do plenty of things wrong in our marriage, but we have never, ever had an argument about money, ever. And almost 14 years of being together. And I think it's because we came in debt-free. We set up this account structure, and we pay out of our bills, out of our joint checking. That's dining, food, groceries, mortgage, whatever. But I have my account. He has his account. We have our blessings account, our tax account, and our savings account. And once that money comes in, it's being automatically divided into all the necessary places. And we just get what's left over for our joint checking. So never have to worry about, are we going to have a surprise tax bill? Never have to worry about an emergency fund. Never have to worry about, did we give enough for, you know, our donations and our charitable givings? Never have to worry about, can I get this or can I get this? I just look at my account, and if I got the money, I get it.
Yeah.
And I think it's created a lot of peace in our house.
Yeah.
Of knowing, like, you got yours, I got mine, we got ours. The government has theirs, right? For us, our church gets theirs, and like all these different places, but they're pre-set up and pre-divided from the get-go. So there's just no questions, there's no confusion, and then we take whatever is left, and that's our fun money.
Mm, I love that. I mean, you're leveraging the power of technology and foresight to create these accounts, saving you ample time and arguments in the process. And it's a great perspective. I have a couple accounts set up like that, you know, where my business money gets routed here from Stripe. And then this, you know, I use an app called Acorns that
Hmm.
pulls out, you know, a certain amount every month. And then I use an app called Kiva to donate to social entrepreneurs all over the world every
Yeah,
month. It pulls from my account. It's a really cool app. I don't know if you've heard of Kiva, but they support like third world country entrepreneurs in these really awesome
that's awesome.
ventures. And then, you know, I have my different accounts for spending, saving, etc., my investment account. And I think it's a great point. So that's a really great happy hustle hack. I hope everyone out there listening implements it.
I would
Let's
say
talk.
too, one of the things that we implemented just on that, and I'll make this
Yeah.
quick, is that we set up a donor advised fund,
Mm,
which is a really amazing tax strategy for not just entrepreneurs, but for anyone. So our blessings account, just as soon as it goes into the blessings account, it funds the donor advised fund.
mm,
So you're just doubling down on tax strategy. But it's earmarking all that money. If it goes in there, I think it's also a really great an accountability component of, I'm not going to put it in there and then pull it out for something else. No, it's like, no, this is going to charitable causes,
yep.
and having it in the donor advised fund gives you a tax benefit, but then also holds you a little extra accountable to making sure whatever that money was earmarked for, that's what it goes to.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. That's a great point. Let's talk entrepreneurship. You mentioned it. I know you have been a boss entrepreneur for a while now, and you have grown. I mean, nine-figure company in more than one time, you know? So it's like, it's pretty rare to say that. And it's quite the accomplishment. What is a happy hustle hack regarding entrepreneurship that you can share with the happy hustlers out there who maybe have a company or are aspiring to be their own boss and start their own company or have their own personal brand as a company? What's a happy hustle hack for entrepreneurship?
Recurring revenue. Recurring revenue.
I love that.
It's real
Genius.
simple. But that's always been the central theme of all the businesses that we've been a part of, starting, growing, exiting, is there has to be a foundational, in our opinion, of recurring revenue that acts as your baseline for growth.
Mm,
And so even here at Brain Builders Group, we were so blessed. And I feel like this was not of our own. This was from people who believed in us, and just, I would just say, like a God ordained path that we were able to walk down. But, we launched Brain Builders Group our first year in seven figures, and it's because we focused on recurring revenue,
mm,
right? And then we doubled in year two. And again, it's because it's got that domino effect.
yep.
And here's what I would say about recurring revenue that I think it's really important is it can't just be based on the product or service. It's got to be based on something that people can't live without. And
Mm,
so one of the things that we're really trying to build in our community is you never want to leave it because of all the different things that you get. It's not just the information, it's not just the education, but it's the people, it's
yeah.
the access, it's the networking, it's the relationships, it's the additional things that we give to you, where it goes, well, this is pennies compared to the value that I'm getting. And
Yeah.
it's not creating a product or a service for recurring revenue, it's creating something that people cannot live without. And you think about all these SaaS programs and softwares out there. I mean, what would you freaking do without this? Like,
Your
what would you
phone.
do
Yeah.
without it today, right? It's like, are you just going to quit paying your cell phone bill? I don't think so, right? So
Right.
it's creating that type of healthy dependency, right? It's
Yeah.
that healthy thing where it's like, no, I've got, my people are here, my support is here, the education is here, the information is here, my community is here,
Yep.
my inspiration is here. It's like finding something that in a recurring element that allows people to really become a part of more than a membership. It's a part of a community.
Mm,
But at the baseline, our core business model, it's a recurring model
yep.
because we know how that's going to grow over time. And I would say the second thing to that is that we play the long game,
Yeah.
right? We are long game players. We're not about how to get rich quick.
Yep.
I think there's plenty of amazing people that talk about that out there. You don't need that from us.
Yeah.
That's not what we talk about.
Yeah.
We play the long game. It's building generational wealth, and it's building it the right way, the sustainable way. Not that another way is wrong. I'm just saying that there's a way to do things, and there's a
Yep.
way that sometimes there is a little more risk than is necessary.
Hmm.
But I think for us, it's recurring revenue and playing the long game.
I mean, love those two things. And one of the things that I really extracted from BBG in the curriculum was the concept of dares, right?
Yeah.
Digital, automated, recurring, evergreen, and scalable products. I mean, that is what we all need to strive for, is dares
Yes.
to leverage your time. I've done the whole coaching thing where you sell yourself into a corner and then you got no more time to trade for money,
Yeah.
and you're just
You max
basically,
out.
yeah, you max out, you burn out, and then you're unfulfilled. But reoccurring revenue, it's such a great point. I love that I mean, that whole concept of playing the long game too. That's what everyone should be out there striving for, is creating that healthy dependency and playing the long game. So great points there, AJ. Next, I'd like to talk about spirituality.
Okay.
And I know you're deeply faithful. Let's talk about a happy hustle hack for spirituality that you think may benefit the happy hustlers, or something that you do that you could share.
Oh man, I wish I had some enlightened piece of information to share here, but mine are probably rather simple, to be honest. And it's creating space every single day.
Mm,
And to me, I don't think it has to be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. It's just creating space. So while I'm chugging my 16 ounces of water in the morning, like for me, right, I read the Bible. Like
mm,
I have this little app called YouVersion,
mm.
and it feeds me a Bible verse every day. And, I spend maybe 1 minute just reading it over and over again in the several different variations, just so it sinks in. But it's taking just it's literally a minute while I'm drinking my water to go, what is one thing that I want to learn today about myself and my connection to
Yep.
God? And just recentering it. And I think when people are like, oh, you need 10 minutes, 5 minutes, like whatever, just make space. Just make some space. I think also one of the things that I did wrong for a lot of years was thinking that my prayer time, or, for you, meditation time, or whatever you call it, had to be at some, peaceful moment where the lights were down and there was
Mm,
background
yeah.
music and there was all these things and it was the perfect setting. And what I've realized for me, that's never going to happen. I
Yeah.
am running a business and I have a 20-month-old and a 3.5-year-old. That is
Yeah.
not happening.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've just realized that I literally sometimes, like sitting in my office, like this is where I work every day in my chair, I literally just turn my chair around and I'll just talk.
Mm,
Like that is my meditation. It's I talk about my concerns, I talk about my worries, but I pray. And
yep.
I know that seems so simple, but sometimes I think we overlook the simple and we're looking for some grandiose idea that's
Yeah.
revolutionary. And it's like, well, that's sometimes the power isn't in the big, it's in the small little things where I just turn around, get away from my computer screen, and I look outside and I talk.
Mm,
And, for me, I talk to God. And they're
mm,
just those little moments because in this, in my perceived notion of what I had to meditate was had to have time, it had to be peaceful, it had to be serene, it had to be quiet. And I just couldn't find that. So I constantly felt like I was failing at
mm.
finding space. And so now for me, it's just noticing the moments. It's literally in the moments and being okay with that.
Yeah. Oh, love that. Yeah, I mean, creating space, just tapping in to God, a higher power, whatever you believe in, and really focusing on your breath, I think helps me, at
Mm-hmm.
least, just taking some time to breathe and really just to be present and grateful. Gratitude has a
Yes.
way of really just opening up this abundant world we live in. And we can all find gratitude for something we have, I mean, or something we don't have, right?
I
If
agree.
we don't have a disease, or
Mm-hmm.
something that is limiting us, we can be grateful for that. Maybe you're still striving for more. That's fine, but find gratitude and happy within the hustle, and
Mm-hmm.
joy in the journey. And I love that you do that, just by talking and to God, and the reading the Bible verse. I mean, those are great happy hustle hacks. AJ, I want to get into the rapid fire round. This is where I basically ask
Okay.
you random questions and
Prepare
you just
yourself.
answer
Okay.
honestly what comes
I'm
to
ready.
mind.
I'm ready.
All right. Favorite movie? Go.
Oh, Dirty Dancing.
Favorite food?
Mexican.
Favorite book?
Oh, that's a good one. I was just gonna The Island of the Sequin Love Nun.
Whoa. Have never, never
I was
heard.
like, should I share one? But that's my favorite book. Okay.
All right. We're going to have to look that up. What is your spirit animal?
Oh, peacock.
Best business advice. That's awesome.
Best business advice is play the long game.
Favorite cliche saying?
Hmm. Got to get that money, honey.
Yeah. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Time travel.
Mm. One word you wish to be synonymous with your name for the rest of your life.
Faithful.
Oh, love it. And if you could have a billboard that basically echoed the last piece of content you would ever create in your life, sharing your message for your life, what would that billboard say?
Move on.
Wow. Mind blown. That was good. 3 things you're most grateful for.
My family, my relationship with God, and I would say honestly, the other one is I'm just so eternally grateful for what I get to do every day.
Love it. You crushed that rapid fire round, AJ. AJ, where can people
That
go?
is by far the funnest thing I've ever done on a podcast.
Woo!
Interview.
Yeah. Hey. Usually we do
Jams.
dance breaks, so we switched it up, rapid fire round.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
AJ, what are some links that people can go to? Give us some places where people can follow you online, find out more about you and what you're up to.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you just one place to go to. And this is something that Cary mentioned earlier that we've set up for all the happy hustlers out there listening.
Yep.
So if you go to freebrandcall.com/CJ or Cary Jack. So freebrandcall.com/CJ. What we've set up is that our team of strategists will offer anyone who clicks on that link and requests a free call a free 1-hour personal brand strategy call. And there is no sales commitment at the end. This is truly half of the call is literally just us walking through your personal brand with you. Then the other half is sharing our philosophies and our methodologies with you. So if it's a really great fit, then yeah, we can talk about how we can work with you, how we can help you. And if it's not, then we're sending you on your way. And our philosophy is it's never a no, it's just not right now. We know that for many of you, it's building your personal brand is something you want to do, but maybe it's not today. That's cool. You should still take us up on this. We want to connect with you. We want to help you. We want to start that relationship. And then we got massive amounts of free resources, which you can go to our website and you can do all that jazz. But if you really want to discover what we're all about, then go to freebrandcall.com/CJ.
Love that. I mean, guys, take action on this. It is 100% worth your time. This is going to just give you the perspective and the clarity that you need in your business. And I just speak from going through it myself. It was transformative, this process. So take action. And then also check out the Influential Personal Brand podcast that AJ co-hosts with Rory. And I think, the guests you guys bring on are just spectacular. Like the lessons learned and the experiences endured throughout, their entrepreneurial journeys of building an influential personal brand. That's one of my go-tos. So that's another one.
Shameless plug. It is
Shameless plug. There you go. AJ, this has been a fantastic interview. I really, truly appreciate you. I just want to acknowledge you for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom with the Happy Hustlers. We are so grateful. Final question before we say goodbye. What does happy hustling mean to you?
Oh man, it just means loving what you do. Right? I think it was in the wise words of the great philosopher, Billy Ray Cyrus, who once said, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. That's happy hustling. That's what it is to me.
Mic drop. Love it. AJ, thank you so much. Thank you all for watching and listening. Peace and love. We're out.